Hello everybody and welcome back. Tonight we go back to the Forest of Dean on the River Severn and the estuary down there. And this account came into me through email, and the gentleman kindly allowed me to share his images and this account with you. And what you're going to hear now is a transcript of our conversation. If you want to see the images, there is a link in the description. And if you want to see any of the surrounding sighting accounts, there is also a link to the map in the description below. And he says, I read the recent account with interest, and I'm starting to see that there have been other accounts from the Forest of Dean. It helps to know I'm not alone in what I have seen and experienced down there. And as we discussed earlier when I sent my account over to you in email, the Dean is a very strange place. I know there have been other sightings on the Dean area, and during my recent walks in the forest, I've noticed my dog acting strangely. There have been only occasional strange reactions from the dog, and sometimes the dog acts strange in completely different areas. So it's not always the same area which spooks him, but he is out of character enough for me to keep taking a note of the dog's behaviour. So this is something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago, so it would be the 20th of September 2018. I regularly walk a terrier, a Yorkshire Terrier he is, out in the forest, and he's a rescue dog and he doesn't like other dogs. So I walk him alone and off the normal dog walking paths. He tries to fight any dog that he meets, so I have to keep him on the lead. He's totally fearless. It doesn't matter to him if it's a Rottweiler, a Pit Bull or a German Shepherd. He will try and have a go despite his size. I'm sure there are other owners of Yorkshire Terriers out there that would agree. Anyway, I'm familiar with the large local wildlife, so we have fallow deer and roe deer and muntjac deer, and of course the hundreds of wild boar now living there, which I see regularly. On this day, I was walking down a forest track about 2 miles out of Cinderford, when unusually the dog started acting in a scared and nervous manner. He was cowering behind me, which has never happened before. I couldn't think of anything that would spook him this much, so I managed to get him to continue down the path a little way. Shortly after this, as I'm pulling the dog along, 3 wild boar crossed the path at speed, about 30 feet in front of us. But as usual, the dog ignored them, and as he had something else that was spooking him, I think. I calmed him down and we slowed pace and kept on with the walk. But several minutes later, the dog started to become agitated again, And once again, he refused to continue with the walk. He was trying to go back the way we had come. I looked around to see what could be causing this reaction, and I saw a face looking at me about 100 yards away in the woods. It was just looking at me and the dog. It didn't move or do anything. So I pulled out my phone and I took a picture on maximum zoom. The dog refused to carry on, so I left with him, not looking back as we went back the way we had come. I've been back down that path several times since the incident, and on 3 occasions the dog has showed signs of anxiety again, but I saw nothing. No one watching from the trees that I could make out. I did find some stick structures nearby, but I think they were probably man-made. Please look at the pictures and see what you think. When you're looking at them, keep in mind that the ferns that the creature was standing in are about 4 feet tall, and it looks like it's standing hunched over, and I thought it was a possible canine. I'm one of those people that talks to animals. I say hello to deer and boar and even squirrels when I see them as I walk along. And when I first saw the face looking at me, I said aloud, I can see you. And I even waved at it, thinking it must be a deer or a boar. It was after looking at the face for a while that I realised it was neither and got my phone out. I think it was watching or stalking the boar I'd seen minutes before. And the face, when I saw it, was down in the ferns, and I think I might have blown its cover, and that's why it raised itself out of the ferns and I could see it. I've never felt threatened whilst walking that path. In fact, it's a favourite of mine due to the wildlife I encounter, although lately the wildlife seems to have left the area. I do tend to ask aloud on that path if there is no one around, I can be found saying, "I'm just passing through and I mean you no harm." I've not changed my routine and I still walk the path both alone and with my dog. But I do get the eerie feeling of being watched sometimes. The path is only about a quarter of a mile away from the popular sculpture trail, which attracts thousands of visitors every year. If anything, I feel privileged to have seen it, and I have never heard of any similar sightings that it could be. I mean, the usual big cat sightings are reported, and I've seen one myself, along with occasional sheep kills, but I couldn't explain what kind of creature this was, other than to say it was hair-covered and it looked like a canine. My mind goes back to a Sunday morning in October this year, when I was just passing through the area of the encounter. I came across 3 or 4 men, each with several dogs and long cameras. They were crisscrossing the area, not on the paths but in the wooded sections, and they seemed to be searching for something. Maybe others have seen something. Since then, contractors for the forestry mission have been nearby, felling trees which would have scared off any wildlife. Please use any information I've given you as you see fit, including the images of my experience. I will continue to monitor the area and I'll let you know if I see anything else. Now, the reports that the gentleman's speaking about, I sent over to him, there are lots of reports along the Severn, so I just went for a cluster that were around the Forest of Dean, and you have the Wye Valley weirdness, because you have the Wye Valley area of natural beauty, just to the north. And it says, back in 1994, I was at a long weekend church camp in a cabin up in the Wye Valley. And at night, my friend and I, we were 16 and 17, were taking a stroll and just joking around. We were walking along a path slightly above the stream. On the other side of us was a steep hill covered in trees and brambles. And as we were walking, we heard deep, heavy footsteps tromping parallel with us, but up on the hill. At first, I just thought it was an echo of our own footsteps, but then I realised we were both wearing trainers and walking on a smooth tarmac stretch of track. When we stopped, it stopped. And it wasn't until it stepped on some rotten wood and made a huge cracking noise that we realised there was something very, very heavy up there. But the train was so steep and so matted with trees and bushes, there was no way a man could walk steadily, paced across it. Then the hairs on my neck started standing on edge. It wasn't a threatening feeling, but we knew we were being watched. We about turned and pegged it, but the footsteps didn't follow. My friend later suggested it may have been a deer, but this thing was bipedal, and those footsteps were heavy, despite it walking on a soft forest debris. There is another account from not too far away, and it's the dragging footsteps at Mitchell Troy. And it says a married couple out walking late at night heard footsteps dragging behind them that they could not explain. When they stopped, the footsteps stopped. When the car approached the area the sounds were coming from and illuminated the area with its lights, no other person could be seen walking. And as we discussed earlier in the month, we have a report from the River Severn that also speaks of a canid-type creature. And the gentleman says, "My name is Simon Austin, and I am from Colford near Gloucestershire. I have lived here all my life. I never knew where to report my encounter until a friend of mine told me about Mark Bannell, a friend of his, who follows sightings of unexplainable creatures like Bigfoot. I work in Staunton, and one morning I woke at 5 a.m. and got myself ready for work. As I was driving down Scholes Road, heading for the A4136 highway, keeping in mind there was very little or no traffic, I approached a left-turn junction near Stowfield Quarry, and at that point my car was hit by a small log or a branch. In shock, I looked to my right from where the sound emitted from, and what I saw was frightening to say the least. I witnessed a creature sprinting towards me on all fours. At least that's what I thought until it came closer. It was running on 2 legs, but low to the floor. It resembled a dog, but had a long snout, but it was much taller and very thin, and I accelerated off as fast as I could. The creature was black in colour and had frosted eyes. I have never seen anything like this before, and I hope I don't see it again. I hope this helps anyway. So, the River Severn, what's moving around down there? It's clearly dog-like and hair-covered and moving off at speed. So if any more accounts coming from that area, or if you're from the area and you know of any strange accounts, get in touch and I will pop them up here for everybody to have a listen to. So pop on over and see the images and see what you think. And if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments and I can bring them up next time I make an upload. So I hope the weather's not too bad for all of you. It's quite bad here in England at the moment. So we have to weather the storm together. So until next week, thank you very much. Good night.